Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I am here with Robby. Robby is, as far as I know, the first known owner of a Model S long range. So we're going to have a conversation. I'm curious to hear about his experience with the Model S long range. This is the refresh 2021, I think, Tesla Model S long range. I've been in a Plaid. I've seen Plaids out and about, but I haven't seen anyone talking about the long range. And I personally think the long-range Model S is a more important vehicle for Tesla's future and for the future of humanity and accelerating the transition to sustainable energy and all of that than the Plaid, because the Plaid is so much more expensive. The Plaid, correct me if I'm wrong, Robby, I think the Plaid is 130 or 135,000, and the Model S long range initially was 80,000 and is now 85,000. Does that sound right? So just for starters, is this your first Tesla?
No, we had a 2018 Model S, and we love that car, but as we'll discuss, I'm sure this one is, in my opinion, exponentially better. And we have right now a Tesla Model Y Performance, which also is great. We had a Model 3, we sold that Model 3. It's a great car, but we just had more vehicles than we had drivers.
I'm interested in the comparison between the 2018 Model S and the new Model S long range. And one thing I noticed when they announced the details about the Model S long range and the Model S Plaid was the weight, that it dropped something like 320 pounds from the 2020 Model S long range to the 2021 refresh Model S long range. Do you notice that at all when you're driving it? Does it feel lighter, or is that something you can't really feel?
Ironically, the vehicle feels more solid to me. So if you want to describe that as heavier, you can. But where I sense the distinction is definitely in the acceleration, and I don't know whether that's as a result of the weight, the battery tech, both. But what I can tell you is it is worlds apart different in acceleration on the 2021 versus the 2018, both from the gate, which is objectively impressive. I mean, we have a Model Y Performance, so I'm familiar a little bit with the performance generally of the Teslas, and this is just in a different league, right? But it's not just that. It's when you get up to those freeway sort of speeds, you really sense that acceleration difference. And then the secondary thing, to your point, as it relates to the weight, is that vehicle, whether it's at slow speed or whether it's at freeway speeds, it just feels more solid to me. So for me, it feels more weighty, even though it is a lighter vehicle.
Okay, feels more solid, but like when you're
wise, like cornering and all those sorts of things, I can feel it being like more solid on the ground.
Right, and just to be clear, I think you're in roughly California, the Los Angeles area generally. If you drove on a road like Mulholland Drive, I think you might notice the lightness of the vehicle more. Have you had any drives like that yet?
So no, we've only had the vehicle for a little better than a couple weeks. We've driven it around here, but like you said, just the public roadways around here.
I spoke with someone highly placed at Tesla, and one of the things that he said was, they said, I was asking about the weight. How did you manage to drop 320 pounds? And some of it was the battery pack, which you wouldn't be able to see from outside the car. But one of the things he said was that they totally redesigned the interior and saved a lot of weight in the interior. What do you notice about differences in the interior in this car versus the previous one?
So going back to the 2018, if there's one of my primary, I don't even know if I'd call it a complaint, but desires in what I wish the 2018 would have been versus what it was, right? The outside looks were amazing, but as it relates to the interior, if we talk about the doors, for example, it felt more plastic-esque than anything else to me on those doors. They did not feel plush or in keeping with what, in my mind, I envisioned a better than $100,000 car. So on this vehicle, on the 2021, if we take the doors and you were to press your hand against the door, what you actually, like, you can press it and you feel that the material that's being used is more substantial. It just feels plusher. And then beneath that, they've got material that's fabric that just makes the whole thing look nicer. They put a storage area into the door, which I'm sure for a lot of people like myself was a huge frustration with the 2018, because you've never just had anywhere to put anything. And so I think the whole design of the door is just functionally better. And when you touch it, it feels better to the touch. So some of the other interior elements that I think are different and better. The center console design in the 2018, it was really like a hole to nowhere, right? Like you opened it up and there was this big expanse space. And so when you put something in there, you never knew where it was going, and finding it was a trick. And then there were all these little nooks and crannies where it could functionally get lost. And they've solved all of that, I think, in the 2021. It has a bunch of different compartments that you can either open or close as it relates to the cup holders. You can stow those completely away. You can open them up where you're displaying and using the cup holders. You can open up another space that's just a small little compartment for your keys or wallet, and you can shove that away and then open up a larger compartment. And that doesn't even consider what is the storage area behind where the armrest is, right? So there's just a bunch of space in there that they've just better utilized. And then the leather-esque sort of materials that are around it, everything feels nicer. The wood grain, nicer, all of it across the board, beautiful. When you go up to the area that's above that, you've got this dual charging, right? The wireless charging. And for me and my family, every single time we use that, as soon as you put it in, like your charge is live, it's instantaneous, it's super convenient. And you can see your screen while it's sitting there.
Let's be clear. You're saying, I think you're talking about induction charging, where you just lay it down, you don't have to plug it in, and it charges. People, right. I experienced this in my friend's Model 3 for the first time, that you just put your phone there, and he has a spot for 2 in his center console. You just put your phone down and it starts charging, and you don't have to plug it in. That's really cool.
It is. And this one is, so we have that in our Model Y, right? And it's nice. And we put it in the 3. But this one is molded in such a way, the angle of it, everything is just a good fit for your phone. So it's really intuitive when you go to put that phone in there. You don't have to like fidget around to try and find a placement where it's actually charging, right? Which I love.
As far as I know, you're the first known owner of a Model S long range. When you went, did they deliver it to your house? Did you go pick it up somewhere? How did that happen?
I picked it up in Irvine. Costa Mesa is like my local closest delivery center, and they actually had a parking structure that they were doing deliveries out of because they had that many, right? And so for the S's, it was set off into its own level of that parking structure. And as far as like Tesla delivery experience, I do have to say it's the most favorable delivery experience I've had with Tesla thus far.
The reason I asked that is because since I haven't heard of anybody else getting a long range, were you the only one? Did anybody make any comments about, wow, this is the first long range we've delivered? Did you have any conversations about that?
Yeah, so the delivery team folks that helped me, and there were a number of them, they were as interested in the car as was I, which was sort of exciting, right? And so there were some Plaid deliveries that were going on in that same structure, but I had probably about 4 or 5 delivery folks around me at different points wanting to both see the car and show me things that they knew about the car. So there were other people taking delivery of all the different models, but it was set out on that one level specifically for anything S related. And within that, you had people that were taking delivery of the Plaid. As far as I knew, I was the only one with a long range that was taking delivery in that moment. And I agree with you. Like, if not the first one, I was definitely one of the first ones, because they were expressing that was the first long range they had delivered. When
did you order it? Did you, I mean, how did you get to be first as far as we know?
Right. So first, I feel really blessed, fortunate that I got the vehicle already. But the way that worked out was back when they did you may remember they did a price cut of the S sometime back in
69,420 or something like that.
So I got in on that at the price cut time originally because I thought, man, that's a screaming deal. But then I had been hearing the rumor mill about the potential of a refresh. And so internally, subjectively, I was thinking, if there is a refresh, I think it'd probably be smart for me to just wait that out. So December of that year rolls around. At the end of the month, the delivery team lets me know they have an S available. And so I'd said to them, I go, let me be just very transparent with you, cards face up. I've been hearing rumor mill about a refresh. I'm not saying that you guys know or don't know. I just know that if there is one, I'm going to feel bummed out that I don't have the refresh. If you have someone else that wants to take delivery of this vehicle, awesome. If you don't, I'll take delivery. But if you do, can you just queue me back in the line? And so that's what they did. They queued me back in the line, and then delivery was supposed to happen in the first quarter, but as you know, that didn't happen, and that got pushed, and here we are.
It wasn't that you specifically ordered a refresh Model S. You were waiting on a previous generation Model S, and so somehow was there a point where you got communication, hey, we have a refresh, it's a different price? They didn't honor the 69,420 price, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for myself and I think all the others that were similarly situated, we did get such a call, and they told us the good news that there was going to be a refresh, the bad news that the price was going to increase. They did give me a little bit of offset, but it was nothing in comparison to what the increase on the price was, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
cost savings translated to a cost increase.
Right. But so the current pricing is now 85,000, but initially it was priced at 80,000. So did you at least get it at the 80,000 price?
I got it a little bit sharper than that price.
Okay. In other words, they gave you something of a deal because you were waiting on the 69.
We had been promised, obviously. So what sequentially happened was there were folks similarly situated like me that in the end of 2020, Tesla essentially stopped production. And so they ran out of S's. They couldn't deliver those S's. And so while mine was paired up with a VIN, that wound up going to someone else. I got queued with all of the people that couldn't physically take delivery because there was not enough production, right?
Right.
And so all those people were going to be forced into waiting for the refresh. So for that group of people like myself, they gave like a baby bit of cost offset, I think, just to make the pain not so painful. And then the other really great thing that Tesla did that they honored that I think was really good and right of them was when I ordered full self-driving at the time, that was an $8,000 price point. Right. Versus the 10. So between the two and then the price, the 5K price increase that's happened, obviously, you know, I'm contented that I was able to take delivery when I did.
Right. Now, I have a feeling if you wanted to sell your car, you could get a really good price for it right now, but right. I also have a feeling you're not selling.
No, I'm contented, more than contented.
When they told you about the refresh, did they offer to let you buy a Plaid?
They didn't specifically discuss that. I know that a lot of folks like myself were offered invites to the Plaid related event up in Fremont.
Right. And
I wondered subjectively if that was a mechanism to make you go, oh man, I gotta have a Plaid. And so, yeah. But they didn't overtly specifically say, hey, do you want to move into the Plaid? And
you didn't go to the Plaid event, or did you?
So it was my daughter's graduation that day. I was like, I really had an ethical dilemma because I love Tesla products. I've never been to one of the Tesla events, and I really earnestly wanted to go. But I thought, you know, 20 years down the line, I'm going to be pitted with this look back. Did I go to my daughter's graduation?
Yeah, yeah.
Or did I go to the Tesla event? So I chose the other, and hard as it was.
That seems reasonable to me. What have you noticed in terms of, let's say, charging? Have you charged your Model S long range yet? What's the charging experience like? Do you notice any difference between that and the 2018 Model S?
I wish you know, if you gave me a little bit more time, I can probably come back with a better answering on this. I can only tell you that because the range is so much greater when I'm charging to 90% at home, correspondingly, of course, that's going to take a longer period of time to charge, right? The rate of charge to me looks to be about the same at home as what I'm getting what I was getting with my older 2018 Model S.
What charger do you have at home?
Tesla's charger,
okay.
The most recent Tesla wall mount. And so I'm getting, I think around 48 to 52 miles an hour gain on that charging system. And the times that I've gone out to look at the car, which have been very infrequent, it looks to me like it's charging in that same range, but that's limited by my home charger's capacity, right?
Right.
So that makes sense to me that would be about the same rate. When I've only gone to a supercharger, I want to say twice, and well, I didn't notice a substantive difference. It did seem to me to be a little bit faster, but the chargers I were at were also limited by the amount that they can charge.
They weren't the V3 chargers. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So I can get back to you on that. I just don't have that experience yet.
Yeah, no, my impression is that you will experience, I think Plaid owners have said this, that you will see faster charging, but it would actually be, you have more range than a Plaid. So it might be a little bit more pronounced because as I understand it, it's just once you're on a V3 supercharger, it's really the battery chemistry determines how fast you charge, not the charger. Yeah. And I think they've made some enhancements in the battery chemistry and the charging. So I think you're going to see faster rates on a V3 supercharger, but I don't think you'd notice it on any other charger yet.
Makes sense. I'm looking forward to it. I just haven't had that experience yet.
And in terms of interior space, Does it feel any roomier inside? You know, I'm guessing you don't sit in the back seat, but you know, what do you notice about the different seating positions and comfort and space?
So when I was at the delivery center, my wife is talking to me about her feeling more roomy in the car.
Okay, she feels more roomy in the car.
Right. So so when I was at the delivery center, you're right, I don't generally go in the back seat because I'm driving the car, but in that case, I just wanted to check out the whole car. And so I did go in the back seat, and I got to tell you, immediately when I went in, I just felt like it was inherently more roomy, right? Enough that I said to the delivery team, I go, hey, is there more room in this back seat? Because it feels roomier. And I was very familiar with the 2018. So yeah, I think my impression is for sure there's more room in the back seat, but not at the price of what you've got going on in the front seat. The front seats feel similarly roomy to me as the other one.
And sorry, I should have asked this about charging. When you charge to 90%, how many miles? I mean, I'm guessing you stop at 90 is how you do it.
Generally.
What's your range at 90%?
I've charged to a little bit over 90%. And at that point I was around 386, 387.
Okay.
And so it's going to be interesting. I don't like the idea of charging to 100%, but I want to try it. Like, well, the vehicle still, I think I have 500 miles on it. I want to do that while the miles are still low so I can figure out what the max charge is.
My general sense, for those who don't know this, is that if you charge most lithium ion battery electric vehicles to 100%, you're essentially degrading the battery. You're reducing the length of the battery, except for lithium iron phosphate batteries, which apparently you can charge to 100%. So the general rule for Tesla owners is ideally you charge from, maybe you don't go down below 20% and you don't charge more than 80%. Maybe 10 to 90 is a good rule of thumb as well.
Right.
All right. So you try not to go below 10% on your vehicle?
Yeah, I try and avoid both of those ends of the spectrum as much as I can.
Okay. Just because I think some of the viewers might not be familiar with that detail about battery electric vehicles. And my understanding is Tesla's better about that than anybody else, but it's just a fundamental problem with battery chemistry that no one can really fix.
Right. Well, you know, since you're asking about range, on my experience with that, I do have to say that having that added range, man, that has just been blessing. It is like, out of all the different things with the car, that's definitely on my top 10 of one of my most favorite things. Like, I can get into the car with 350 miles of range, and I just feel like I can go anywhere. And like that, I didn't really have range anxiety with our 2018. I don't have range anxiety generally with the other cars. As you know, the more you get familiar with Tesla, like when you plot a course, it's pretty true to what you're going to experience versus what Tesla is portraying. You're going to realize when you get to your destination. And so over time, I've got more comfortable with that. But having the increase in range nonetheless is monumentally great. It's just fantastic.
I'm a fan of the Model Y. I'm a fan of the Model S long range. Is probably my favorite Tesla until the Cybertruck comes out, which I'm waiting for. But I really What's that?
You put in an order for the Cybertruck already?
I actually have 2 orders for Cybertruck, but I ordered a Cybertruck.
Or the other?
I ordered a dual motor Cybertruck in the first hour of the reveal at $7,000 FSD pricing. And then when they said they were going to raise the price of FSD from $8,000 to $10,000, I ordered before it changed. So I ordered, which, you know, the second one I won't get for like 2 years, right? Because I waited so long. But the first one, there's a chance I get it in the first quarter of 2022, right? I mean, we don't know when they're going to deliver, but if they deliver in the first quarter of 2022, I'm like number 29,000. And you figure some of those orders are in Europe and they can't take delivery. And some of the people are going to, I don't know who would do this, but some people won't take delivery for whatever reason. I'm ready. I'm taking delivery as soon as I can. If they tell me I have to upgrade to tri-motor to get it, I'm going to upgrade to tri-motor to get it. But anyway,
good for you.
Model S has been my favorite Tesla for a long time. And the Model Y came out, and just sort of like from a practical family standpoint, I can see like, wow, that Model Y is a really, really nice car. How do you compare your new Model S long range to the Model Y? What differences do you see? What, you know, how would you explain that?
Yeah, I think you've got it right. Like, as far as family car, the Model Y is really like, it fits into that sweet spot. One of the distinctions between the two that I think you feel pretty prominently when you get in. Like, for example, the ease of getting in and out of the Model Y, that is just like, for family purposes, that's just a better experience. There's no sort of contorting to get into the Model Y in the way you would an S. And I'm making it sound like it's some horrible thing. It's not. It's just the Model S sits so much lower to the ground that is a different experience getting in and getting out. And once you're in with the Model Y, one of the benefits is just that perception of this huge space that you have inside, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think for family, you know, going to and from the market and all that sort of stuff, the Model Y is a really great vehicle for that. For drivability, for driving experience, for feeling plush and feeling like you're just driving this amazing vehicle, the Model S is just a completely different experience, right? And that's its sweet spot. Whether it's acceleration, whether it's road handling, whether it's the complements that are inside of the vehicle and the way they're laid out. I gotta say that the way they changed the screen on the S, you were talking about the differences between the two cars earlier, right? Yeah. So as you know, the 2018, that was mounted vertically as opposed to horizontally. And I really loved that initial integration in the 2018. It just felt like everything was like super well fitting, right? Like it was designed with intention. Right. But so I was a little hesitant about the 2021. That's no longer the case. Man, I am a fan. When they turn that thing horizontal, that viewing space is huge. And it's integrated in a way that you wouldn't expect. It doesn't feel like it's just like a laptop that's stuck in there, right? It's more integrated into that whole dashboard in a way that's actually luxurious and nice. And so again, back to the contrast piece that you were asking about, I think for me, the getting in, the getting out, the sort of roominess that you have inside the Y, those are the two big things that are the standouts to me in distinction of what sort of sets the Y apart. Certainly in both vehicles, you have tons of ability to put stuff in the back or in the front or wherever. Both of them have tons of space. But the S is more like, if you want to be the driver of a really amazing vehicle, that's the vehicle that you want to be in. Not that the Y isn't amazing. The Y handle's great, but it sits higher. So that experience is different.
Do you notice anything different? I'm guessing it should be the same, but do you notice anything different on the FSD and the Model S long range that you just got compared to any of your other cars? Or is it basically the same right now? Because you're not an FSD beta tester, right?
I wish, no. Yeah. As far as the function, like the way FSD performs, no, I think those are sort of apples to apples, right? But as far as the way in which you invoke full self-driving on the refreshed S, I don't know if this feature, if there's an update that's either come or is coming for the Y. I've not seen it on the Y. Maybe I just missed it in the software, but you can one-click the Model S and engage full self-driving, whereas like for us on the Y, it's a two-click process, right? And I really like that one click actually. So it's one click on, one click off, super intuitive. And in that regard, I think full self-driving is a nicer experience for me because there's not as much involved in moving your hands. Even though when we talk about like going to the turn stop or the, you know, drive stop in order to engage full self-driving on the 3 or the Y, even though that doesn't feel like it's a lot of movement, when you contrast that to what your experience is with the S, it is just better on the S. Because what's happening here is I'm on the yoke, right? I'm holding my hands like this, and it's just a thumb turn and a click. I'm not moving my hands at all. All I'm doing is repositioning my thumb, and for me, it's super intuitive. In the same way that the turn indicators, yes, there's a baby bit of learning curve because, as you know, your controls largely are on that yoke steering wheel, right? And so for some people, I've read, some people had reservation, like, for example, with these turn indicators. I gotta say, I am a fan of the way those turn indicators are set up because it's the same deal. On your left-hand side, if you want to turn one way, you're up here. If you want to turn the other, you're down here. And there's a little piece of plastic that's sort of like outset so that you can feel where you're at on that thing. You don't even need to look at it. And over time, it becomes more innate. And so I really like those features.
And
I know you're talking about full self-driving, but I got on the Yoke.
no,
Sorry.
that's good. I actually was going to ask you about the Yoke, and I think it was a good comment. Elon said you don't have to tell the car to go and drive versus reverse. Does the car know which way you want to go?
So in most instances, I think yes. When we pull in and out of our driveway, it will intuitively know the direction to go. I think I have a little bit of intrepidation still on that because I haven't had a ton of experience with it. So I find myself always looking over, even though most of the time the vehicle is right. When I say most of the time, I should probably correct that, because I think I've had one experience where it was selecting to go towards my garage door as opposed to go away from it. And I really don't know, like, it's not vivid in my mind if that was actually user error, if that was the car.
Okay.
But every other time it's been right.
What about the wheels and tires? Are they large? Do you have the 19s or the 21s or what?
21.
You have the 21. So I thought the 21s reduced range a bit. Do you know anything about that?
I had 21s on my 2018 also. And before you and I got on the call, one of my sort of caveats was, if we're going to start talking about kilowatt hours and range and all that stuff, I'm probably not your guy. I'm just an end user that really enjoys my Teslas, right? So I haven't really been looking for that, to be honest. I've just been wholly impressed by the amount of additional range I have, right?
Right.
Versus trying to drill that distinction down. I think for me, what I really loved about those larger wheels and rims is, of course, the aesthetics and just the hug to the road. So I was more focused on that.
So you're Fun Secured on Twitter.
Right.
I don't remember what the handle is, but I know your name is Fun Secured. So I'll tag that in the video.
Yeah, and I only chose that name just because at the time, there was that whole funding secured comment, and then all the FUD people were making a big old deal over it. And for me, my experience with Tesla has been nothing but fun. So for me, Tesla is about fun, secured.
You live in California. California is noted for having a higher proportion of Tesla owners. Do you feel like a lot of your neighbors have Teslas? Or are you the only one?
Yeah.
Are you the guy who's telling people about Teslas and they go buy one because they saw yours?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go all the way to say I'm a complete apostle, but I think people, generally speaking, around here, they both know we have Teslas and they know we're very favorable on them. And, you'll have people that come up to you all around and go, oh, what do you think about your car? So in that sense, I would say I'm sort of a vocal advocate of Tesla. To your question, though, originally we were the only ones in our neighborhood that had a Tesla. I mean, the only ones.
Yeah.
So right now, our across the street neighbor, they have one. 3 doors down, they have one. At the end of the street, they have one. So whether it's through our Teslas, whether it's through them just becoming familiar or like whatever they've seen, for whatever reasons, I have noticed both an increase sort of exponentially here locally in our little area, but also, I drive Orange County, LA County, into Glendale, sometimes San Diego. I'm all over the place, but particularly in Orange County, they are everywhere. Well, I can obviously only tell you my experience, but my experience here is within the last several years, from 2018, really, when we got our Tesla Model 3 and we got our first Tesla was the S, and then we got a 3 that same year. It has exploded here. Like, you see them everywhere. It's fun to see. One last comment, if I could make about the Yoke, is that okay?
Yeah, please.
One of the distinctions, you were asking me early on about the distinctions between the 2018 and the 2021. And there are a whole variety of those, from the way that they've appointed the trunk, like the use of trunk space is just better. They've got more compartments in there that you can utilize. But one of the greatest things I think in distinctions between the 2018 and 2021 is not only in the aesthetics and the way that Yoke physically feels when you're driving it. It's a very, like, particularly like at higher speeds, it just feels better to me, right? But the viewability, for anybody that had a prior S, they know that when you've got that rounded steering wheel, you're trying to look up or through or under, or you're adjusting that steering wheel to be able to see the viewing screen. All of that has been alleviated, and it is just straight joy when you're looking at that viewing area. On my top 10, that's definitely like one of my favorites.
Was there an option to get a regular steering wheel, or wasn't it an option?
If there was, it wasn't afforded to me. I'm not aware of that. I know Tesla's trying to refine their production to have, less variations.
Right.
And I don't know if that's one of them right now, but I wasn't offered anything different, nor would I want it.
Trying to think if there's something else I should ask you, and I'm not coming up with anything.
So the drag drag strip mode.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I that was unknown to me when I got the vehicle. That was a fun little surprise. When you go into settings, you can enable that drag strip mode, and what'll happen is your front viewing area will light up as yellow, saying that the vehicle is basically prepping. And usually, in my experience, it'll give you about a 2-minute window that's telling you that it's preparing the battery and all that stuff for optimization. And it's pretty great experience, man.
Have you gone to a drag strip, or you have a place you can go where it's safe to do so?
Again, I think I'm just your average regular guy that just really likes the Tesla product. So I haven't done that. That would be fun to do. I don't know what the times are associated with that. I can only tell you my end user experience is in a way that is unlike our Tesla Model Y, even though that's very fast. This is enough to give you that thing going on in your face and pushing you back into, like, I've never really experienced that. It's an awful lot of fun.
I mean, you have a safe place where you can activate drag strip mode and try it out?
For sure.
You live out in the middle. You don't live in the middle of a city. You're sort of on the edge and you can find a spot.
Yeah, I have various props at me that we can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're not like dragging other people.
No.
Okay. Not yet. Okay.
Thanks for letting me share some information about the
Robby,
car. I love it.
Thank you so much for coming on. Fun Secured on Twitter. Hopefully we'll talk again in the near future, maybe in a few months, and see if there's any updates on your Model S long range. Thanks again, Robby. I want to say thank you again to Robby and his family for sharing their experience with the new Model S long range. Really excited to see that. Please check him out on Twitter at Fun Secured. Please check out my other videos, support this channel on Patreon. Thanks to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters for helping this channel grow. Check out the t-shirts and the stainless steel water bottle at elonbits.com. And thank you so much for watching.